What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for Sports. So, on an episode of Club Shay Shay, whatever that is, that podcast slash talk show that Shannon Sharpe hosts, Magic Johnson was on there. And he talked about how initially he and Larry Bird, his eventual frenemy, didn't have much of a relationship. And you really can't fault either one for that. I mean, the culture of the NBA was different. Everybody wasn't kumbaya. Everybody wasn't friends back then. You know, look, back then, especially when it came to Lakers versus Celtics, they were the premier rivalry. Now, there were other rivalries. The Lakers did not like the Sixers. That's one rivalry. I believe the Spurs for a while did not like the Lakers. There were other rivalries, but the chief rivalry was that between the Lakers and the Celtics. If you were on the Celtics, you were supposed to hate the Lakers. If you were on the Lakers, you were supposed to hate the Celtics. And while, of course, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird had grudging admiration for each other's abilities and skill sets, they didn't like each other. That's just how it was. And that was the way it was for many years. So this is what Magic Johnson had to say. And I'll put a link to this article in the pinned comment in the comments section below. It's a quote. And I guess I'll talk like Magic. Let me try. Our relationship was fractured because it was the Celtics Lakers. See, we hated them and they hated us. So we could never be friends. Riley stressed that. He said, if a Celtic goes to the ground, you better not pick them up. We had to hate them to beat them. It wasn't until '87 when Converse wanted to do a commercial with both of us. I flew out to French Lick, Indiana, where he's from. We shot about half the commercial, and it's lunchtime. I think I'm going to a trailer because we really haven't broken bread before. As I take like 3 steps toward the trailer, he said, Magic, I'd like to have lunch up at my house. My mom has prepared lunch. He threw the mom in there. So I go to the house. He's down there, and I'm down there. She's bringing out all the dishes. And she hit him and said, did you tell him yet? He says, no, Mom. You tell him. She said, Magic, you're my favorite basketball player. Woo! So that broke the ice right there. Nah, but it was during that commercial shoot that they had lunch and they got to talking and, you know, found out they had a lot of things in common. And I believe during that documentary when they talked about this, he says it was no longer Larry Bird and Magic Johnson talking. It was Larry Bird and Irvin talking. But I'm going to tell you something. I still, to this day, think that Larry, I'm not saying they weren't friends. They were. But Larry also did that strategically. The same reason why, for many years, Bill Russell was friends with Wilt. To kind of get Magic, in his mind, to psychologically soften a bit toward Larry. Because Larry probably realized by '87, Larry played balls to the wall. His style of play was different than, say, LeBron's. LeBron's been able to maintain his body for an unprecedented amount of time. Larry Bird played roughhouse basketball, so his body broke down fast. I remember him saying Artis Gilmore told him, you're not going to play long in this league the way that you play. And he said, when Artis said that, he said, man, he must be crazy. It's the only way you can play. But he said as he got older, he kind of understood where he was coming from when he started having more aches and pains and things of that nature. But so that's the only way that he could play the game. But anyway, yeah. They became friends. And I remember when Magic Johnson announced that he had HIV. And for those of you who are too young, HIV and AIDS were a death sentence back then. Not how it is today, where you can take medication and live basically a normal lifespan, as long as you take care of yourself. But back then it was a death sentence. As a matter of fact, later on that month, Freddie Mercury died in November of 91. But the point is, we all was thinking that. We didn't say it, but we were all thinking it. And Larry Bird, during that game, they played that night. That's when he found out that Magic had HIV. And he said it was the only time in his NBA career they didn't feel like playing basketball. And he threw a behind-the-back pass in that game as a tribute to Magic, because Magic had to retire. I'm sorry I'm getting a little bit emotional because even though it was 30 years ago, I can remember vividly what we were all thinking. We all thought that Magic Johnson was going to die. But fortunately, that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. But man, I'm telling you, man, that was a scary time, because if Magic Johnson can get this thing, anybody could get it. And I don't want this to become about HIV, but, I remember the late 80s and 90s very vividly. And there was this belief that, hey, it was a gay disease, or it was a Haitian disease. And certain people didn't get it. They didn't get that disease. Only certain people were getting it. And then you saw Rock Hudson get it. And then you saw Liberace. And then you saw, Alvin Ailey. And then you saw all these other people. Miss Kitty from, what was it, Gunsmoke or Bonanza, whatever that Western was. And then, you start seeing other people get it. And then when Magic got it, Arthur Ashe, that's when it started hitting our community. That's when it became real to us. Anybody can get this. So, I didn't want to go there, make it about that, but tell me what you guys think.